Have you ever questioned your faith when faced with insurmountable odds? Let's embark on an epical journey back to a time when the Israelites were under the yoke of the Midianites. Oppression was the order of the day, and the Israelites, they cried out for a deliverer. Amidst the turmoil, in the humblest of settings, we find Gideon, a simple farmer. Gideon's life, much like ours, was filled with the ordinary, the mundane. But destiny had different plans. An angel of the Lord appeared to him one day, not in a grand temple, but right there in his wheat field. "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior," the angel said, anointing Gideon as the chosen one to liberate his people. Gideon, just an ordinary man, was about to face an extraordinary task. Would his faith hold up against the odds? And so Gideon, a humble farmer, is chosen for a task greater than he could ever imagine. Like many of us, Gideon too grappled with self-doubt when faced with a monumental challenge. He questioned his worthiness, his ability, his purpose. After all, he was the least in his family, and his clan was the weakest in Manasseh. Yet it was he who God chose to deliver Israel from the Midianites. In his uncertainty, Gideon sought confirmation God. He laid out a fleece of wool on the ground and asked the divine, "If you will save Israel by my hand as you have promised, let the dew be only on the fleece and all the ground be dry." And so it was. The next morning, Gideon wrung a bowl full of water from the fleece while the ground around it remained parched. But Gideon's doubt persisted. He asked for another sign, this time in reverse, a dry fleece and dew-soaked ground, and God obliged once again. The next day, the fleece was dry while the ground was wet with dew. Despite his continual doubt, God was patient. He understood Gideon's need for reassurance and provided it not once but twice. Through these tests, God demonstrated his power and his commitment to his word. He showed Gideon and us that he is patient with our doubts and fears. He reassures us in our moments of uncertainty, providing signs and wonders to affirm his presence and his plan. Gideon's story reminds us that even in the face of doubt, God patiently reassures us of his presence and his plan. With faith as his shield, Gideon steps into the battlefield outnumbered and seemingly outmatched. The stage was set for a battle of monumental proportions. Gideon, a man of humble beginnings, found himself at the helm of an army, facing the formidable Midianite forces. Yet in a twist as unexpected as it was divine, God reduced Gideon's army to a mere 300 men. This was no accident, no miscalculation. This was a deliberate act of God, a demonstration of his power, a testament to his might. In the face of such a staggering imbalance of forces, many would falter, crumble under the weight of the impending doom. But not Gideon. He held firm, steadfast in his faith, unyielding in his resolve. The army might have been reduced, but his faith was not. The battle commenced, not with the clash of swords or the roar of cannons, but with the blast of trumpets, the breaking of jars, and a cry that echoed through the valley, "For the Lord and for Gideon!" It was unconventional, it was unexpected, it was divine. The Midianites, confounded and thrown into disarray, turned against each other. The 300 stood their ground, watching as their enemies fell, not to their swords, but to their own hands. The battle was won, not by the strength of the 300, but by the power of faith and obedience. Against all odds, the victory was won, not by the strength of men, but by the power of faith. So what can we learn from the story of Gideon? There are profound lessons we can glean from Gideon's journey. One of the main themes is faith. Despite his doubts, Gideon trusted in God's promise, showing us that faith often requires us to step beyond our comfort zones. Then there's courage. Gideon, an ordinary man, was tasked with an extraordinary mission. He teaches us that courage isn't about the absence of fear, but acting in spite of it. We also see the importance of obedience. Gideon obeyed God's commands no matter how unconventional they seemed. His obedience underscores the significance of following divine guidance, even when it contradicts our own understanding. Lastly, Gideon's story illuminates the power of God. It wasn't Gideon's strength that won the battle, it was God's power working through him. Gideon's story teaches us that with faith and courage, even the ordinary can achieve the extraordinary. Remember, it's not about our strength, but about God's power working through us.